Good morning, Castle Law investors and clients. Today, I really have the privilege of having one of the most successful investors in the Chicagoland area, a guy that's been doing it for quite a while, on today. We're going to talk about cash flow properties right now in the Chicagoland market. Fix and flips are a little bit tight. So when that happens, we have to shift. A lot of us hear about HGTV and 30-minute episodes, and people buy houses and make $50,000 in the course of 30 minutes. Today we have Kirby Atwell on from Green Vet Homes. Kirby's been doing it a while. I've known Kirby for a long time, and he's going to really dive deep on why flipping properties can be risky business, yet armed with the right network of people helping you and armed with the right information, it can be highly successful. Kirby, thanks for spending a few minutes with my clients.
Hey, Gary. Great. Thanks for having me.
So, Kirby, Green Vet Homes, how long have you been around, and why is it called Green Vet Homes?
Yeah, so I've been around I started in real estate full-time in 2011 when I got out of the Army. But I transitioned from my first company, Eye Candy Homes, which was primarily a flipping company, to Green Vet Homes about 2 years ago, which is focused on buying, rehabbing, and building in equity into properties, and then renting those properties to homeless veterans.
Oh, awesome. So when in the military, and by the way, thanks for your service. I think you told me you were a captain in the Army. We actually here at Castle Law have a full colonel as well as lieutenant colonel that work in our office. Did you do anything cool? Were you stationed overseas?
Yeah, so I was an air defense officer, so we were focused on air threat. So in Iraq and Afghanistan, there really wasn't much of an air threat. So I was focused primarily on North Korea throughout my career. So I spent a lot of time in the Pacific, some of the time in Hawaii, and then several years in Japan, really focused on North Korea.
Ah, okay. Well, konnichiwa. I do happen to speak a little Japanese, but we'll have to have a webinar on this North Korea thing because obviously it's big in the news right now. So over the past 10 years, you're a pretty young guy. You've actually bought, rehabbed, rented, and sold over 100 properties.
Yeah. It started in 2006, right when I got out of college. I graduated from West Point, was stationed down in El Paso, and I picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad, and like many other people, kind of got the real estate bug and started buying rental properties while I was still in the Army, and then transitioned in 2011 to doing it full time.
That's incredible. And so you've literally done this. You just haven't kicked tires. You've experienced all the ups, the downs, the problems associated with it. So I know you said Green Vet Homes is designed to help homeless veterans. So what exactly what can you help other investors with as Green Vet Homes?
Yeah, so I am constantly looking to buy properties. So I focus on the south suburbs of Chicago. Is where the model works really well, where I can buy properties pretty inexpensively. I can rehab them, build in equity, and then rent them out through it's a voucher program. So the homeless veteran has a voucher from the VA. That's how they pay the rent. So it's a great model for me, and it's really helped other investors who have wholesaled me properties. And then I'm also in the process of starting a separate blog site beyond greenvethomes.com. It'll just be kirbyatwell.com, where I'm explaining exactly how I do it. So it's just a ton of advice on building a portfolio of cash flowing properties, doing, a purpose that you're really passionate about.
Okay, so if this is not sinking in for people who are listening, what Kirby's saying is, Kirby, actually, you're a realtor, so you can help my clients and other people help source properties and purchase properties, but also for those clients of mine who are wholesalers or looking to offload properties, you also are a buyer of properties and you will buy those properties. Am I summing it up properly?
Yeah, actually, I'm not a realtor myself, but I can definitely work with people on helping them find property. I find a lot of off-market deals. I do a lot of off-market marketing. And then I also, yes, definitely for anyone who's looking to wholesale properties or has, something that could be a good cash flowing rental property, that could, I'd be interested in working with them on purchasing that property.
Okay, so for a lot of realtors are going to be watching this. For my realtors, for my investor clients, if my realtors have properties available, wholesalers, you can help determine whether or not that property is a good deal or something that you might buy, or maybe put them in touch with somebody that might be interested in buying it. So this idea of flipping properties, everywhere you turn, whether it's on the internet, every channel you turn on TV, anybody that has a couple of nickels to rub together, everybody has thought that it is just the greatest idea since, sliced bread to buy and sell real estate. And these programs that you watch make it seem like you can just buy a property and it's just going to cash flow like crazy, or you can flip this property and it's just real easy and there's nothing to this. So, you were telling me some things that, maybe what's portrayed on TV isn't exactly the case. Tell me a little bit more about your experiences with that.
Yeah, so I can kind of share how what I did initially and then how I transitioned. So initially, I started my first company with a couple partners, and we did a lot of flips from 2011 to 2016, and it was fun. It was great. We learned a lot. The problem is, when you're doing a flip, it usually takes 4 to 6 months, and you've got all these expenses that accumulate throughout the flip. You flip it, and everyone talks about on HGTV, I just made $40,000. But you've got to pay back all those expenses over the last 6 months, then set aside, 30% of that or whatever your tax rate is to pay the taxes at the end of the year. So you're really left with not a whole lot in net profits. Plus you got to pay your staff or whatever. And so, you're on this constant treadmill. I kind of associate it with being a drug addict. As soon as you get your deal done, you got to find the next deal. And so, you can never really get ahead. And so I kind of fell into this rental model because I had put up bandit signs, and somebody called me on a bandit sign from a south suburb, and they needed to sell their house really cheaply, and it was rentable condition. And I thought, and I heard what the rent was on it. He's like, you can rent this for $1,400 to $1,500, and he wanted in the 30s for the property. And I was like, this can't be. I'm doing the math. I'm like, I can pay off this property in like 2 years, and then it's free and clear income forever. And I can, I've got equity right from the start. So if I ever have to sell it, there's equity in it, and I can make my profit then, or refinance it and pull that money out tax free. So I bought it, and then it worked. And so I started buying more, and so I totally transitioned my model into this buy, rehab, and hold. And it's been working tremendously. I've got a portfolio of about 15 properties now. And it just, every one of them, you're growing your net worth, and you're growing your monthly income basically forever. And the tax write-offs are incredible.
So for people who might be watching this who have never bought a rental property or an investment property, you mentioned the term bandit sign. What is a bandit sign?
Yeah, it's just a form of direct marketing to sellers. So you go out and just put up signs, those "We Buy Houses" signs that you see on the side of the road. Those are considered bandit signs. So
okay, so when I pull up to an interchange or an intersection, and there's a yellow sign that's got handwriting that says, Kirby buys houses for cash, call such and such number.
Exactly.
That's a bandit sign.
Super unsophisticated, and that's exactly why it produces the best results, in my opinion, because you're targeting people who have a problem. That 99% of people will list their house with a realtor, like they should. They should sell it on the open market at retail pricing. That's what they're there for. There's 1% that inherit a property. They're hoarders. They have some tax issue. They've got some major issue. They're going through divorce and have to sell it quickly. Some major issue that you can solve for them as an investor and typically get a pretty good deal on. And so that's the target audience. And so bandit signs, typically most of the calls you get are that 1% crowd that just need to get rid of the property for some reason.
And you said some pretty interesting or incredible stuff regarding the profit on a flip and why that's not necessarily profit when people start talking about profit. I know every day I go on Facebook and I see pictures of investors holding up a proceeds check from a real estate closing saying, I made $42,000 on this real estate closing. Well, the fact that they received a proceeds check for $42,000 doesn't account for the cost of their hard money loan interest, doesn't cost for their carrying costs for the taxes, doesn't cost for the total amount of the rehab that they spent on fixing up the property. So all of those things factor into what your actual cash flow is. And of course, when you're buying and selling properties in less than a year, it's also subject to ordinary income tax, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's, and the rentals, that's something where you're going to have, I always tell people, and I don't know what you think about this, Kirby, but I always tell people flipping properties generates income, yet rental properties creates wealth and long-term residual income.
Exactly. Yep. And I'll still flip. I'll flip to pay the bills. I don't do it as much anymore, but if a great deal comes along, but there's a big difference between having to flip because you're paying all your overhead, you're paying for your business expenses with that, and just doing a deal, because it comes along and it's a great deal. So you'll take on different types of deals when it's, you have to do 4 deals this month to pay your bills, compared to like if you've got a portfolio of rentals that, that's paying your bills, and like flips are just extra. Right.
I went to one meeting, an investor meeting, and someone got up and started talking about the fact that the property cash flows $1,500 a month, that the monthly rent was $1,500, and that the property cash flows $1,500. That immediately kind of told me that this guy didn't really know what he was doing. But what does that entail to determine what it is to determine cash flow for a property?
Yeah, great question. So it's basically your gross income. So if you're making $1,500 on a property, you take your $1,500 minus all your expenses. So whatever it takes to run that property, any maintenance that's going to occur, any utilities you might be paying, the property taxes, the insurance, and then minus any financing costs. And that's your cash flow there. So I target, if I'm making, most of mine rent around $1,500, and so I count 2/3 typically toward expenses. So say $500 a month towards my debt service, and then another $500 towards set asides or the cost of maintaining that property. And then $500 is the extra income that I make personally on that property each month. And so every time you accumulate one, you're adding $500 to your income per month forever. So it's a great model.
And Kirby, I think you mentioned, and we've talked about this offline, rental properties, that's not always been your focus. In the past, you were doing a lot of flips, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And I think what the interesting insight, and if you want to speak to this for a minute, is a lot of times when I work with a lot of new investors, they come here and they go to some program in Utah or California, and they learn a specific technique. and they say, okay, I'm going to flip properties, or I'm going to wholesale properties, or I'm going to assign properties, or I'm going to double close. And the reality is that you really need to dive deep and understand market conditions, because right now inventory just is not there where these flips are prevalent, such that we need to be able to shift and have different strategies. And I'm assuming that's one of the reasons kind of how you've arrived at this rental situation. I don't know, am I kind of analyzing that correctly?
Absolutely. Yeah, there was times when I was in the flipping business that I'd wake up and think about how many millions of dollars we had invested in high-end properties that are sitting on the market. And if the market dipped 10% and you own $1 million property, that's $100,000 that you just lost. And we owned, 15, 20 properties at the same time. So it was a lot of money and a lot of risk. Luckily, the market kept, increasing from 2011 to 2016 when we were flipping. But now I've built in equity in my properties. If the market dips, my income on a monthly basis does not change one bit. And maybe my equity on paper goes down a little bit, but I've built in enough to where even if it went down 20%, I could still sell it for a profit. So I feel much more secure. I sleep a lot better at night with this model.
So how can Green Vet Homes help Castle Law clients, or anybody watching this webinar for that matter?
Yeah, so I think the two big ways are, like I said, I'm always interested in purchasing new properties. So if you're looking to sell properties, my contact information will be on that page. And then within the next week to two, got a bunch of information. I wrote an ebook, a 22-page ebook that walks you through step-by-step how to do bandit sign marketing, which has been really effective for me over the years. And so you can download that book there. And
Kirby, you kind of cut out for a second. Where is it that they can download? Because that trailing, we kind of had a little static.
Yeah, it's just KirbyAtwell.com. So it's my first name and last name.com.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. So yeah, so that's, I think those are the two big ways we could work together.
That's awesome. And so other than, what's some of the proof behind why you have the ability to come on, Castle Law's webinar here, and, obviously, profess to have some sort of inside knowledge, or what's some of the proof that you have the ability to give this information to people?
Yeah, I wish I could show you my battle scars to prove it. I've done, a lot of years. About 75. I did about 75 with my previous company, and there was a lot of painful experiences. As it grew, it got more. I got further and further away from all the things I enjoyed about real estate, and it just became managing people and problems. And the profit never went up. It was like a giant treadmill. So I've done that road. I've been down that road for many years, and then I've also, for the last couple of years now, been down the road of buying cash flowing rental properties. And I can tell you this model, in my personal opinion, is a much more effective model.
So literally, you've already been through it. There's no need for people to learn on their own and get all of those battle scars. They're going to get some, but to get all those battle scars, talking to Kirby, getting inside and getting that inside information from Kirby on how this is really done successfully and avoid the pitfalls that he's encountered. That's super awesome that you're willing to share that information. How can my clients get a hold of you? I know you mentioned KirbyAtwell.com. Guys, just make sure it's with 2 L's at the end. So Atwell. This is what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so I think if you want to email me, Kirby@greenvethomes.com is the best email address. You can call our office 708 231-0100. And then visit my blog. It's going to continue to, I'm going to continue to add more and more content to it about what I'm doing and about basically the whole idea is sharing how to achieve financial independence through cash flowing rental properties. It's what I enjoy doing. It's what I enjoy talking about. So you can visit the blog at kirbyatwell.com.
Well, Kirby, thanks for sharing that information. So for people who hasn't sunk in yet, I mean, here's the thing. Buying and selling real estate, investing in real estate, it's not a novel concept. You've got somebody here who's a young guy, who's been through it, who's been out there. He's actually bought rental properties. He's flipped properties. There's really no reason whatsoever to make these mistakes on your own. Utilize Kirby as a resource so that you can help build the dreams that you want to build and get you to where you want to be. And Kirby, I endorse you. You and I have known each other for a long time. Thanks for coming on today, and thanks for sharing a lot of these insights.
I really appreciate all your support, Gary. It's I love what you're doing with your practice there at Castle Law, and I look forward to continuing working with you.
Okay, thanks, Kirby. Have a good day.
Thanks.
All right.